You are listening to The Tribe, Episode 3, I Speak to Jesus. My name is Ricky Goodall, and you shouldn't blindly believe anything I'm going to share with you in this video. You shouldn't blindly trust me or anything I say for that matter. I encourage you to question everything and find a truth that works for you, because I believe truth needs no convincing. Let me first start by saying that I am not Christian. I am not religious. I am not dogmatic. This is not an attempt to convert you to Christianity, to convince you of any type of truth, or try to force you to believe in something you don't want to believe in. This episode will likely not be what you expect it to be. But let me just say very clearly and plainly, I speak to Jesus Christ, and you can too. And that doesn't mean likely what you think it means. So I'm just going to start by sharing a bit of my story and how I got to this point where I'm able to speak to and communicate with this archetype or this being or this higher self known as Jesus Christ, or as I like to call Yeshua. And I'll explain my backstory and a little bit of my early story as well, so you can really understand how I got to this point and how maybe you can get here too if you desire. And maybe you don't desire. Maybe you're just curious about this topic. And I encourage you to just stay to the end. Trust me, there will be fireworks at the end of this conversation. So I grew up with really amazing, loving parents, but very traumatized parents. My parents had been through a lot. Both of them had been sexually abused by family members. They were drug addicts in my early years and drug dealers for a lot of my early years as well. And they were never married. According to the Christian church and most religions that I knew of as a child, my family was going to burn in hell, and so was I. They committed a lot of crimes, made a lot of mistakes. There was a lot of violence in my home, a lot of alcohol and drug abuse. And as far as I knew, my family and I were damned to eternity. And I didn't know what that meant at the time. And I didn't know that what any of this meant. And I feel like I really have a good handle on it now. I remember many times in my childhood, mostly in my teenage years, experiencing severe traumas, like, my father going to jail and me having to live on my own at 15 years old, or going to foster care as a child. And I remember times being in extreme suffering, begging and praying for someone or something to help me. I didn't know what I was praying to. I didn't know if I was praying to God, or if I was praying to Jesus, or if I was praying to myself, or just praying because it felt instinctual to do so. But I remember specifically praying and begging many times in my life, just asking for relief, asking for mercy. In my early 20s, I went through a series of breakups with a girl that I was dating. And again, very loving girl, but we had both been traumatized a lot in our lives, and our relationship was a disaster. She had 3 kids, and we did our best to raise them. And she had our first kid when she was only 17 years old. And I remember our breakups and our abusive fights and all of the chaos in our relationship. And I remember so many times after one of our breakups being in the shower, crying and just praying and saying, look, if there's a God, if there's a Jesus, if there's something out there, please just answer me. Please help me. I need help. I don't know how to change my behavior. I would behave in ways that wouldn't make sense to me. Maybe you can resonate with this. If you've ever said something or did something feeling almost like you're possessed, as if like something's happening and you're not sure what it is, and you're not sure why you're behaving that way or why you're saying what you're saying. And then the next thing you know, you're looking back on your behavior and wondering, why did I do that? Why did I say that? Why did I behave that way? And trust me, you are not alone. I've certainly been there, and I know many others have as well. And so there have been so many times where I was praying and just hoping for an answer. At 22 years old, after one of these breakups, I lost my job, and here I am, jobless and homeless. My girlfriend kicked me out of the house. Rightfully so. I definitely deserved it at the time. I don't remember what I did exactly, but I was doing lots of things that deserved me getting kicked out. And so she kicked me out, and I'm sleeping on a friend's couch. And this friend, still a close friend of mine to this day, I've been friends with him since I was around 13 years old. His name's Eldon. He said, why don't you watch the movie The Secret? I think it might help you. Now, again, I'm not trying to convert anyone to anything. I'm just telling you my story. If you don't believe in the movie The Secret, or you don't believe in what the Secret shares, it's all good. I think it's kind of incomplete. I think it's a little misunderstood, but it's a nice gateway drug, so to speak, to this idea of creating our own experiences or being more in the driver's seat in our lives. And so I watched this movie, The Secret. I'm 22 years old. I'm homeless and jobless. And I watched the movie The Secret, and I feel really inspired. I feel really driven, and within a few months I get a job and I find a place to live. And within a year, after 10 years of training martial arts and never really doing anything with it other than getting in fights and protecting myself, within a year of watching the movie The Secret, I became a professional mixed martial arts fighter. I put a picture on my vision board of Roger Hollett, who ended up being one of my teammates. If you don't know who he is, look him up. He was an animal in his fighting career. I put a picture of him on my vision board and put a picture of my face over top of his face and imagined myself being a professional mixed martial arts fighter. In April of 2016, the very first legal professional mixed martial arts event happened in Nova Scotia, Canada, and I was there in the rain, waiting to get in, 2 hours in the lineup. I went in, here I am in the nosebleed section, looking down at these fighters, thinking to myself, I'll be there someday. I think it was 6 months later, I was there. Not at the forum, not at the same venue, but I was about to fight my own first professional mixed martial arts fight. So I watched the movie The Secret, and within a year, started an athletic career. And that career took off over the next 8 years. I had 21 fights. I fought all over the country. Some really amazing opportunities and amazing experiences. But then I went through a series of breakups, series of rock bottoms, started digging into my own spiritual development, studying things like quantum science and the holographic universe theory and the double slit experiment and Copenhagen interpretation, and all of these different ideas about how the universe isn't really solid like we think it is. It's more like a hologram. It's more like a simulation. And I'm not going to get into the details of those theories. You can check out some of my other videos or other episodes of The Tribe and some of the content I'm going to be producing very soon, which will explain this stuff a little more simply. But to put it in layman's terms, as Elon Musk said, founder of Tesla, PayPal, and SpaceX, there's a 1 in a billion chances we're not living in a simulation. 1 in a billion chances. Shamans have been saying this for thousands of years. Esoteric alchemists and Kabbalists have been saying this for thousands of years. This is not a new idea. Science is just catching up to this idea. So I start studying all of this stuff. I start studying quantum science. I start studying law of attraction and universal principles. And I stumble onto books like the Kybalion or the 7 Hermetic Principles and these other different texts. And then in October of 2015, I'm at the end of owning this wellness center that for over a year was doing okay, and it started to get really difficult. And I'm running this wellness center, and this guy comes into my life, and he asks me, have you ever experienced magic before? Now, I was skeptical because I heard a lot of the mainstream narrative about magic. I heard that magic was evil, that it was a devil worship and Satanism and all of this kind of stuff. And I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. And I said, magic? Do you mean like witchcraft and stuff? And he said, well, yeah, I mean, witchcraft is a form of magic, but that's not the only type of magic there is. And let me just say, before I get into more about magic, I know that if you're a strict Christian or if you're a strict Catholic, or maybe you're part of another spiritual system or religious group that's against magic, I'm just going to challenge you to just listen to your heart right now. There are multiple types of magic, and to put it really simply, there's white magic and there's black magic. Okay, so white magic is healing magic, it's transformation magic, it's only about healing yourself, recognizing that the universe around you is a reflection of what you carry inside of you. As the alchemists say, as within, so without. Now, black magic, and this is just my opinion based on the studies I've done over the last few years, and you can follow my breadcrumbs if you like, but black magic is like low-level magic. They call it, the alchemists call it puffer magic. It's magic for the unworthy. It's magic for the people who are looking to take advantage or manipulate others or manipulate reality, and they're disconnected from their spirit and they're disconnected from the higher self. And black magic is a dangerous game because it essentially tempts you into believing, and again, you shouldn't believe anything I'm sharing with you right now. This is just my opinion from what I understand. For what I understand, black magic sucks you in, and it creates a lot of negative karma in your life. And I haven't played with black magic. I haven't gone deep down the rabbit hole of black magic personally because my intuition just told me that's not the direction to go, and stay away from it. Don't go in that direction. Now, are there people in the world using black magic? I believe there certainly are, and there certainly have been. Is this a secret? Nope, I don't think so. And are there some religions that may have been using black magic in their religious doctrines and in their ceremonies and in their masses? I don't know. Are there any governments, government systems or government leaders or celebrities or anyone using black magic in their art or in their work? I don't know. But that's a good question to ask. Really good questions to ask. So I started to learn that there's a difference between white and black magic. White magic is about unity. It's about oneness. It's represented by the pentagram, the five-sided star, the five-pointed star with one point pointing up. One point pointing up represented unity, oneness, connection. Now, 2 points pointing up, that's a symbol often connected to Satanism or devil worship or the Church of Satan, and that represents duality. 2 points up, duality, separation. We are not all one. I am different than you. You are different than me. And this is where black magic is rooted in, and it's a dangerous game because the real esoteric texts, the ones that I believe are worth their weight in gold, are pointing to something different. They're pointing to the idea that we are all one. And this is the message that this Jesus character has been giving me. So anyway, I was initiated into esoteric magic in October of 2015. Now, an initiation ceremony is a sacred ritual. You probably haven't even heard of it. It's so sacred, so secretive that I could tell you these words right now, and most of you listening to this won't even get it. You won't get how important this is. And I didn't get it at first either. So an esoteric initiation is a special ritual that's passed from one person to another. It's an oral tradition. It can only be passed from teacher to student. It's not something you can read about in a book and perform on yourself. I mean, there are self-initiation rituals, but I don't believe they're necessarily as powerful because the shamans believe, the magicians believe there's an electrical transference that happens between one person to another when they initiate someone. It's a very sacred ritual. It activates and amplifies your magical abilities or your psychic gifts. And you might not believe in this kind of stuff, but there's a lot of evidence out there to suggest that maybe it's not that it doesn't exist, maybe that it's been hidden from us. Maybe it's been suppressed. Maybe we don't know what we don't know. The Library of Alexandria that was burned by religious mobsters had 700,000 scriptures and scrolls and books talking about this kind of work, and it was all destroyed. And what's left in the world now is just basically the remnants of all of that stuff. The stuff that's been passed from one initiate to another and written by the initiates that had the courage to put their truth out there in the world. And so anyway, I get initiated into this esoteric magic practice, and my healing journey starts becoming accelerated. I start becoming more and more in tune with my higher self, connecting to my true highest self. And I didn't know what that meant at first. I didn't know what was really happening to me. My relationships start healing. I start dealing with a lot of karma. My business went under. My wellness center at the time, I had to close it down. Well, it didn't go under, I guess. It was going under. I closed it down. And so a few months after my esoteric initiation, and in that time I experienced over a dozen ceremonies with my mentor who taught me how this ancient practice of magic actually works, and it's a very powerful practice that can transform our lives. If you've known me for the last 10 years, you probably have seen the transformation I've gone through, and this is all to do with magic. It's completely related to and rooted in magic. So a few months later, I experience a shamanic initiation. I go to Peru and I work under some shamanic medicine healers in May of 2016. And in my second ayahuasca ceremony, the spirit of the ayahuasca medicine, Mother Ayahuasca, says, you have to learn to heal yourself before you can walk amongst the angels. And there's all this purging, and I'm purging water. You drink water and you purge it, and I have diarrhea at one point. And if you're not familiar with ayahuasca, I'm not going to get into it in this episode, but look it up. It's a very sacred medicine that's been used by indigenous people for thousands of years in Peru. And again, I know if you're a religious person listening to this, you may have heard from your religious leaders that plant medicines or psychedelic medicines are evil, or that they're dangerous, or they're wrong. And hey, there are dangers in anything in life. There are dangers in anything. And I don't necessarily say that you should believe me or trust me. I think that you should listen to your own heart. But I think that it's important for us to question everyone, including our leaders, our parents, our government, everyone. Question everyone and everything. So I go back to Peru 5 months later. My first experience was so profound that I decided to go back 5 months later. And this time I asked them to give me a dose so that I would never have to do ayahuasca ever again. And the shamans give me this massive dose. They fill my cup right to the top. If you're somebody who's experienced ayahuasca, let me just say that it was about 5 to 6 times the regular dose. It was a massive amount of ayahuasca. In that experience, I start having these images and these visions. And actually, let me just back up for a second, because there's something I should share with you first. When I first got to Peru the second time, I'd already made a relationship with the owners of the retreat center, Etnika's Integrative Healing Clinic in Pisac, Peru. And these shamans, these incredible medicine healers, took me into their family and introduced me to everyone and created a connection with me. And I still work with them to this day and have brought them to Canada to do work with me. And so I meet with the owner of Etnika's Integrative Healing Clinic. And this is a couple of days before our shamanic ayahuasca retreat. My second retreat is supposed to happen. I'm in Peru, I'm in Cusco. I meet with the owner. His name's Angel Herrera Sr., amazing man, in his 60s. Look, I call him the Peruvian Mick Jagger. He looks like, he's got like purple and red hair, dyed all the time, always some kind of color. And he's in his 60s and he just looks like a little Mick Jagger character. He's got this huge personality. And I'm talking to him and he identifies as a Buddhist, Christian, Incan. Now, Incan is the indigenous people of Peru. Buddhist, you already know probably. And Christian, and I couldn't understand the Christian reference because I said, Christian, really? I mean, the Spanish came and in the name of Christianity murdered most of the indigenous people in Peru and all across, millions of people, I believe. I believe it was millions. Destroyed their temples, built churches on top of them, and forced them into Christianity. How is this wise shaman who I look up to a Christian? I just couldn't get it. How is that even possible? I started asking him, what do you mean? How are you a Christian? He says, Christ is king, Christ is king. And he wouldn't tell me anymore. And I think I understand why now. So the next day we go to this little medicine conference that he suggested to us where the whole thing's in Spanish. And when I say we, I mean the team I was with. I had a group of clients with me and a couple of coaches one coach I still work with, Alain Cormier's, one of my best friends and a great student and a great teacher. And he and I have done a lot of work together, a lot of this kind of work together. And so we decided to go to this medicine conference that Angel suggests to us. And we decided to leave there. And the girls we were with wanted to go to the Catholic cathedral in the Cusco Square. If you've ever been in the Cusco Square, you know the cathedral I'm talking about. Now, I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to go to a place where all of these indigenous people were murdered. And they took the leader of the Inca people right out in the square, the Cusco Square, and they killed him right there in front of all the people and then built a cathedral there. So I didn't really want to go there, but I decided the girls wanted to go, and so I decided, okay, I'll go. And so we get to this cathedral, and inside there's this big bloody image of Christ hanging on a cross. And I mean no disrespect, but I don't agree with that image as a way of producing or promoting Christianity. And from what I understand, I'm not sure that this archetype of Christ really needs that to be the case either, but that's just my opinion. So anyway, I decided to pray and to talk to Christ. I knew he was an archetype in my reality. I knew I'd created him for some reason, so I needed to know, why is he in my experience? So I pray and I say, Jesus, listen, I know that you're an archetype in my experience, but I don't get it. How am I supposed to connect to this image of the crucifixion? How am I supposed to connect to this image of a dying, bleeding Christ? And a voice speaks to me, almost as if I'm speaking to you right now. And it says, let the crucifixion be a reminder of your own crucifixion. Let the crucifixion be a reminder of your climb from ignorance to awareness. Let the crucifixion be a reminder of your suffering and the pain that you've gone through to get to where you are now and to get to where you're going to be. I was so moved by the experience, I had tears running down my eyes, and I didn't tell anyone right away. And we leave the cathedral and we go see this little tour guide named Marco, amazing guy in Cusco Square. And he decides to give me and my group a special tour. He doesn't usually get a bus or anything. These are walking tour guides or walking tour groups. And he decides to take us on a special tour, and he gets a bus for us. And he drives us around to all these amazing sites. And he eventually takes us to up the top of this mountain, Sacsayhuaman, and we get to the top of the mountain, and we get out of the bus, and what do you think is there? The big Jesus statue overlooking Cusco. The Jesus statue. I thought, what in the world is going on here? First, the cathedral and that experience, and last night Angel saying he's Christian, and now the Jesus statue. What is going on here? So a couple days later, we go to the shamanic ayahuasca retreat, and in my 5th ayahuasca ceremony, a pile of really incredible, miraculous, devastating things happen to me. So first, I see this image of Christ, but it's not the image you might think. It's the image from the movie Dogma, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, a highly blasphemous movie about Christ. And it's the buddy Christ is going by in my mind's eye. And I said, what is this? I didn't understand. It's a very blasphemous image. And the message I got was that Christ doesn't care how I connect to him. He just wants me to know that he's here. Okay, all right, that's fine. And then the ceremony gets really deep. This is the one where I drank more ayahuasca than I've ever done before, enough so I never have to do it again, 5 to 6 times the regular dose. And things are getting strange. I start seeing the 6-pointed star everywhere, the hexagram, the seal of Solomon, or the Star of David, if you wish to call it, the symbol that's on the Jewish flag, the flag of Judaism. Now, I don't believe this is a Jewish symbol, just to be very clear. It's been used in other systems as well. In fact, I think it was used in Hinduism before it was used in Judaism. But I start seeing the 6-sided star, and Mother Ayahuasca, the spirit of the ayahuasca medicine, tells me to start following this star. I have to understand what this star means. That when I understand what it means, I'll be able to heal myself and others. She said it's very important that I study this symbol. She also told me to start studying Hebrew. Study the Hebrew alphabet. She said it's a magical alphabet. It's got hidden meaning, and I need to understand it. She told me to study the Kabbalah and Tree of Life, and that there are hidden meanings behind that as well. She told me to start studying Egyptian and the Egyptian mystical practices. She told me to start traveling to the different sacred sites in the world because it would start raising my consciousness. She told me to study the Hebrew prophecy about the chosen one, because she said that this prophecy was about me and my life. Now listen, what I'm saying right now is bold. It's very uncomfortable for me to say this publicly, but I swear to you, I swear on my life, it's the truth. And whether the Hebrew prophecy is about me, I don't know. But what I believe that I'm here to do is I'm here to share a message and a truth. It's not my message. It's not my truth. It was given to me. And this truth is what I'm sharing with you today, what I'm starting to share with you today. So the ceremony was so profound that there was a part where there was a king and a queen in front of me. And my head hurt. It hurt so much to see this king and queen. And they said, yeah, it probably hurts because you're not ready to be here yet. And I knew in that moment that I was in heaven. I was in a higher dimension. And I knew that the masculine and feminine energies were what were sitting in front of me. The king and the queen were the mother and the father, the masculine and the feminine. Modern religion kind of tells us that there's a father, there's a God. Well, father, the God, is the up direction, above. Mother, the goddess, is below. We don't hear about her a lot in traditional religion. Shamanism talks about her a lot. Paganism talks about her a bit. And some of these ancient religions talk about her. But in Christianity or Catholicism, we know her as the Holy Spirit. They don't really give her a feminine context. But she is the manifested world, and Father, the God, is the unmanifested world. Again, this is just from my understanding. So after I leave the ceremony, the retreat, I end up connecting with this author and researcher named Brian Forster. He's written 22 books on the subject of ancient human history. By the way, I'm going fast here because there's a lot of information to cover. So if you find I'm going too fast, you might want to watch or listen to this video, this audio a couple of times. It's some deep information I'm sharing. I'm going to try to get it all done in under an hour. So I meet with Brian Forster, and he takes me to the Sexy Woman. I do a tour with my group, and he starts telling me about these ancient forms of technology and how human history is far older than we're led to believe, and that there are ancient sites in the world, some of them 10,000 years old, 12,000 years old, 36,000 years old, and that there's this ancient technology that was used to build all these sites. So that's very interesting. He talks about how consciousness might go through this 24,000-year cycle called the precession of the equinox. And that 12,000 years ago, there was likely a big flood called the Great Flood, and that there are spiritual systems all over the planet that talk about this flood. I'm not talking about Noah's flood. I'm not claiming a man built an ark and took all the animals on there and he and his family repopulated the world. I'm not claiming that, but I think there was a flood. I think the majority of our civilization was destroyed. I think that some people hid in underground cities, like those maybe underground under the pyramids of Giza, and above water in the tops of mountains, like maybe Machu Picchu. Again, this is just my opinion here, but if you watch some of my other videos or listen to some of my other audio webcasts, you'll hear more of my opinion on that. But I'm not going to get into it anymore. I just wanted to share that point with you. So from that point forward, I start studying like a madman. I start studying as much as I can. Mother Ayahuasca told me to study this stuff, so I did. I moved 30 minutes outside of the city in a home inside, like basically right in nature. And I spend the next 2.5 years or so, 2 years, I'd say, deeply studying and healing myself. I started studying Kabbalah, alchemy, Gnosticism, and Hermeticism. These are ancient forms of wisdom that help us understand the universe at a deeper level. I start studying about the five-sided star, the five-pointed star, the Pentagram, and how that represents the five elements: fire, air, water, earth, and ether. And these five elements represent five aspects of what we are, our five bodies. Now, science tells us we basically have two bodies. We have our mental body and our physical body, and that's pretty much it. According to these ancient systems, we have five bodies. We have our physical body, or the earth element. We have our emotional body, or the water element. We have our mental body, or the air element. We have our fire body, or our spiritual, or fire element, or our spiritual body. Then we have our consciousness, or our ethereal body, or our astral body, or the fundamental essence behind everything. And so I start recognizing that these elements, these bodies, our spiritual body, mental body, emotional body, physical body, and our astral body, these are sort of like operating systems in a computer. These operating systems determine the experience of life we have. They're almost like mini projectors that project our reality around us. Now, this might sound really out there for some of you, but again, if you watch some of the videos I've already posted, particularly the Easter series I posted this past Easter, you'll learn a little bit more about what this all means and what it could mean for us. So these five elements are like operating systems, and they sort of project our reality around us. When these operating systems are fully cleansed and healed, we sort of live in this paradise. When they're not cleansed and healed, in other words, when we've got guilt, shame, pain, regret, embarrassment, or any negative emotions from the past, by the way, we all do unless we've done the deep healing, then these elements become sort of like dirty or misaligned, and then they create a reality of struggle for us. The ancient Christians and Catholics would call these intrusions or this pain demons. The shamans call them pain entities or intrusions. I think Scientology, and I don't subscribe to Scientology, they call it engrams. There are lots of different names. I call them sort of like computer viruses or misaligned programming that messes up our experience of reality. Again, I'm not going to get deep into that right now. As I mentioned in my video, The Hidden Identity of Jesus Christ, I talk about how this five-sided star may represent Jesus as our highest self. That maybe this Jesus character isn't actually a man that existed 2,000 years ago, but maybe it's our higher self that exists all of the time. And maybe that man 2,000 years ago was just another teacher, another magician, another healer who studied all of the healing methods and found this truth for himself. And if you didn't see my video, The Hidden Identity of Jesus Christ, check it out, follow the breadcrumbs, read the books that I mentioned, and find a truth that works for you. I started learning these Hebrew chants. They just came to me. I studied these ancient Hebrew rituals, and I studied the Hebrew alphabet, and I started studying the path of the tree of life and the Sephiroth of the tree of life, and studying again the Hebrew alphabet and what those different nouns actually mean, this pictorial alphabet, these archetypes of consciousness. And that's what every letter of the Hebrew alphabet is. It's a different archetype of consciousness. And this alphabet is where we get most of our modern language from. It's from this ancient Hebrew alphabet. I don't believe that this alphabet was reserved for any particular religion. I don't believe it was reserved for any particular spiritual system. I think that some spiritual systems just adopted it. So I start receiving these Hebrew prayers, these Hebrew chants, these Hebrew songs, and I start learning about the potential true identity of Jesus Christ. In this book by Nicholas Notovich, The Unknown Life of Jesus Christ, he says that Jesus' name might have been Isa. Now, I believe that Jesus, the name Jesus, was a term given to him, that man maybe 2,000 years ago, if he existed. I don't know if he existed. But I think the name Jesus was a term given to him because he became enlightened, because he merged with his higher self, his highest self, this Jesus archetype that we all have the ability to connect to. So through this experience, from October of 2016 until around August of 2018, I performed hundreds of healing ceremonies. Deep, deep healing ceremonies. Ceremonies where I had to face all my traumas, all the childhood traumas I went through, dozens of childhood traumas. Most of them I didn't even know happened. I confessed every negative thing I've ever done in my life. I confessed everything I've ever done to another human being. Things like cheating on girlfriends, having affairs with married women, using heavy drugs, committing crimes, drinking and driving, assaults, abuse in my relationships, and so much more. I had to confess everything I'd ever done. And this is all guidance from my higher self, being guided this whole time. I didn't know what I was being guided by, but something was guiding me. I'm doing all this purging, I'm crying, and all these other advanced purging techniques I learned in my shamanic journey, and experiencing all these prayers, all this purging, and my communication with my higher self is getting stronger and stronger and stronger as this is happening. I'm getting guided further and further and further along the path. Now finally, in Easter of 2019, last year, it's 2018 when I'm recording this, I decided to do 4 days of ceremony, and it started on Good Friday. So on Good Friday, I performed a 9-hour ceremony from 9 in the morning until about 6 p.m. in the evening. During that 9-hour ceremony, I was spending most of the ceremony laying on the floor channeling Jesus. Jesus was speaking through me. And again, you shouldn't believe anything I'm saying. If you've never experienced this before, it'd be pretty much impossible to really believe in it. So I'm not expecting you to believe in what I'm saying. I channeled Jesus. Jesus spoke through me and told me everything that I'm going to do in my life and what my purpose is. He started getting more clear about, and when I say he, Jesus is a he to me, but it might be a she to you. Jesus is androgynous. I don't believe that Jesus actually has a sexual orientation. Jesus would be called a he because he's above, but you can also imagine it as a she, and it will be fine. The 5-sided star is also represented by the planet Venus because she makes a 5-sided star symbol around the earth, and Aphrodite is her equivalent archetype. Again, you shouldn't believe anything I'm saying, but I don't believe that Jesus is a man necessarily. I believe that the energy feels masculine to me because that's my experience. It might feel feminine to you, and that's fine too. It's fine. It doesn't make any difference. Jesus is just a name. It's just a code. And if you watch my video, The Hidden Identity of Jesus Christ, you might understand that code a little bit more. I go pretty deep in that video. So I performed this 9-hour ceremony on Good Friday. I start channeling Jesus pretty much the whole time. And then a couple of days later, I perform another ceremony, and I have a total Kundalini awakening. I'm laying on my floor for 30 minutes in this orgasmic, ecstatic bliss, crying, tears running down my face, in a total Kundalini awakening on Easter Sunday. I swear to you, this happened Easter last year, 2019, total Kundalini awakening experience. So again, I keep performing these ceremonies. I keep going deeper down the rabbit hole. I start initiating other people. So I was trained in how to perform an initiation ceremony, how to initiate other people into this ancient magic. Now this magic, I could call it Christian magic, but it would be maybe undermining what it really is. It's magic of the higher self. It's God magic, if you will, creator magic, divine magic, angelic magic, high magic. It's not black magic. It's not negative. It's not evil. It's not about manipulation. It's not about trying to manifest money or trying to manifest wealth in your life. It's about healing yourself and recognizing that your external world is a reflection of you. External world is a reflection of your internal world. So this special magic, I started initiating other people, and I start introducing other people into this magic and letting them experience the miracles I'm experiencing in this magic. Now again, you shouldn't believe anything I'm saying, but if you're one of the people who have done this work, if you're one of my initiates, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not one of my initiates, then you shouldn't believe anything I'm saying because there's no way for you to believe it. Your analytical mind just can't possibly comprehend it without experiencing it. Throughout my work connecting to this higher self, which I now know as Jesus or Yaheshua, my highest self, this being starts telling me how to heal myself. It guides me to heal depression. It guides me to heal anxiety. It guides me to heal an eating disorder I didn't even really know I had. Bulimia and overeating and all of this kind of like intense eating disorder that was happening under the surface of my life. It guides me to heal anger. It guides me to heal a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder. I was diagnosed of complex PTSD a couple of years ago, and I've been able to heal myself of that completely, of the symptoms that the doctor called PTSD. I don't believe that there is such a thing as a diagnosis. I believe that there is pain that must be healed, and when the pain heals, the symptoms disappear. It helped me heal my relationships to my family, something I struggled with my whole life. It helped me heal relationships to everyone that I've ever come across in my life. Now, whether or not I communicate with those people or I have them in my life is a different story, but I've healed my relationships to them. Now, finally, we get to Easter of this year, Easter of 2020. Now, Easter of 2020 was an interesting weekend because my girlfriend and I, a few days earlier, decided to participate in a 3-day silent water fast. from the full moon, April 7th, until Good Friday. During that water fast, I went through some serious challenges. I thought I was going crazy for the first 2 days. My mind was overwhelmed with negative thoughts and pessimistic thoughts and paranoid thoughts, and all of this terrible stuff was running through my head. And on the third day, I experienced extreme clarity. Now, this is a silent water fast. No talking, no reading, no entertainment whatsoever. I referenced a couple of books throughout the weekend just to kind of get myself out of the negative spot that I was in. But other than that, no distractions. Just total silence, just water with some lemon, and a little bit of herbal tea a couple of times throughout the weekend, or throughout the 3 days. During that time, I start receiving strong communication with my higher self. And the third day, it was so clear, it was as if somebody was speaking to me. And I was told to release this truth with the world. Within a few days over the Easter weekend, I recorded 4 videos, and I released them on YouTube. 4 videos with truth I'd never shared publicly before. This video is the next one, and then on May 7th, I'm going to release a system of self-healing that Jesus gave me to share with the world. This is not a trick. It's not a way of me trying to manipulate people into buying something from me. I am a coach. I am a healer. That's how I make money and how I pay my bills. But this system I'm giving away for nothing. I'm giving it away online. I'm going to share it with the world. I believe that this system is what we're missing in the world. I'll get to that a little bit in a little bit at the end of this video. Now, Jesus gave me a message for the world, and I'm going to share it right now. And I'm going to be honest with you. It may be triggering to some. It may be offensive to some. It may hurt some people's feelings. It may not be well received by the strongly religious, the strongly spiritual in certain ways. But I swear to you, this is the message I've been given. And if I don't share this truth, I just feel more and more miserable, more and more depressed, more and more anxious, and I feel less and less confident in myself because I'm not sharing my truth with the world. So this is the truth I've been guided to share by my higher self. And it's the truth that I hope that you'll remain open to. So first of all, Jesus tells me that religion as a whole is misguided, misaligned, and outdated. I'm not going to use any negative language to describe these religions, but let me just say that I personally wouldn't trust a religion to give me my directions to God. Not to say that there aren't any great, well-intended pastors, priests, ministers, healers, spiritual leaders, etc. out there. I'm just saying that as a whole, religion is misguided, misaligned, and outdated. It's not necessary to find our path to the truth. We don't need religion to find our path to God, creator of conscious universe. We don't need a religion to find our path to Christ, Krishna, Horus, Apollo, Atman, whatever you want to call him, her, it. We don't need religion to get there. This message came right from the source itself. And again, this is my opinion. You shouldn't believe me. You should ask yourself and listen to your own heart. But this is the message I've been given. We are all miracle workers and have extraordinary superhuman abilities. I'm not the first person to say this. Donovan Bailey proved it. Bruce Lee proved it. Jesus, if there was a man 2,000 years ago, Isa or whatever his name was, he proved it. Moses may have proved it. There are men, Joe Dispenza proved it when he healed his own back with his mind. This is not something that is unknown in our world. It just hasn't been well received or well shared. I won't say it was hidden or suppressed, but let's say it's not openly promoted by the mainstream media. We have extraordinary superhuman abilities, every single one of us. We are all miracle workers. I would bet my life on this. I know it to be true. I've seen miracles with my own eyes. We are all miracle workers. I've watched healers, powerful healers, perform miracles that I couldn't even believe to be true if I didn't see them with my own eyes. And you shouldn't believe me either. We all have an internal guiding system that can lead us to paradise, to a heaven on earth, to a place where all of our relationships are healed, where we get to be our most authentic self, where we get to live in a playful, prosperous, passion-filled, inspired life. We all have a guiding system inside of us that can take us there. Every single one of us does. Our dreams are visions of the future that await us on the other side of our healing. Our big dreams, if you've got a dream to be a musician, a speaker, a performer, a rock star, an actor, an actress, a leader, a politician, whatever your dreams are, those dreams are there. They're real. They're visions of the life that awaits you on the other side of your courage to heal yourself. Everyone is here to help us grow and evolve. Everyone in your experience of reality, in your video game, so to speak, is here to help you grow and evolve, including me, including your parents, your grandparents, all the people that hurt you and all the people that helped you. They're all here to help you grow your consciousness. They're all here to help you evolve. You have no enemies. You have no enemies. You have only reflections of your own consciousness. Life is a highly advanced simulation intended to help us evolve our consciousness. It's like a video game. It's just like a video game. If you think about it like that, life becomes a little more playful. Now, our nervous system rejects this idea. Our nervous system has been conditioned since we were children to believe that life is real and scary and dangerous and that we have to just focus on survival. That's just part of the game. That's part of how the game works. And when we heal the parts of ourselves that cause us to slip into survival mode, to slip into believing life is real, when we heal those parts of ourselves, our fear, our pain, our guilt, our shame, our regret, the traumas we experienced, the disappointment we've experienced, the embarrassment, we heal those parts of ourselves, we start to realize that it really is just a game and that we can learn how to play the game and we can learn how to master the game and we can become masters of our own experience. Jesus is our higher self, and we can integrate with him or her and become one with everything. We can become one with everyone and everything around us. I've experienced this countless times. I've got associates who have experienced this countless times, and I know it to be true. It's true within my heart. Jesus taught me a system to heal myself and others. It's a very basic system, but very complex at the same time. It's very simple to understand, but so deep that a person could never fully understand it, no matter how long they studied it for. It's an esoteric system. It's never been taught before. It's a secret teaching that I've received directly from my higher self. It's not something you're going to find necessarily in other books, but you can reference the concepts in all of the esoteric systems. The same concepts are there. This is just a concentration of those concepts, an easier way to explain them. It's sort of like a software plugin for our analytical mind to help us understand that we are Jesus. We are this higher self, pretending to be just human. We are Yaheshua. We are the five-sided star. We are Krishna. We are Atman. We are manifestations of the divine pretending to be just human, playing this video game. And the system I'm here to share with the world is like a plugin. It's like a plugin that upgrades your subconscious mind, upgrades your analytical mind, and helps you understand how you are this being so that you can start to heal yourself and live as this being if you choose. This system is not a religion. It's not a dogma. It's not a law. There is no hierarchy. I'm not better than anyone else. I'm just the messenger. I'm not the guru. I'm not the teacher, other than leading you to find your own teachings inside of you, leading you to find the truth on your own. No matter what I share will never teach you the truth. That will happen inside of you. I will release that system by May 7th, 2020. There'll be a link in the description of this video. You can sign up if you'd like to receive notifications when I release that system. Again, I'm releasing it for free, 100% for free. It's taken me a lot of work. I've got other people helping me put it together, and I've been working on it for a few years now. Like I said, it's very complex to design and to build, but it's very simple to understand in the beginning. There are many layers to this system. You can go very, very, very deep with it, or you can just go surface level and start to change your life. He also showed me an esoteric teaching called the 7 Directions, which I'm going to share with you at the end of this video, as well as a ritual called the Call of the Shamanic Warrior, which is sort of like a song full of Hebrew chants that activate your 5 elements. They start to begin the process of transformation, the process of healing that's necessary for us to become one with this Creator self, one with this Yaheshua self, this Jesus self that we all are. The time is now. It's time for us to wake up to this truth. It's time for us to step away from needing religion to tell us what's true and to start finding that truth in our hearts. Jesus came to me in a dream on Easter weekend, and he wasn't a bloody, disheveled, broken man. He was a young 33-year-old man, full of energy, full of life and vitality, and he was like a buddy of mine. He was like a friend, and he said, listen, man, all I want you to do is just live your life, be happy, be inspired, live a playful life, share your truth with the world. Don't be afraid. Just put it out there. You can be afraid if you want to, but just recognize that you're protected, you're taken care of, everything's going to be fine, life's only going to get better. And so this is my way of sharing that truth with the world. We are all this higher self. We are Jesus. We are Yeshua. We are Horus. We are Krishna. We are the higher self manifested as human beings. It's time for the world to wake up. The state of the world as we see it is a reflection of us collectively. When we transform what's going on inside of us, we transform what's happening outside of us. There are no enemies. There are a lot of conspiracies going on right now, a lot of rumors about what's happening in the world. And I'm not saying those things don't exist and they aren't happening. I'm just saying that if we want to change them, it's simple. We change ourselves. If we want to change the evil that exists in the world, we heal the ignorance that exists inside of us. If we think that there's a Satan or there's a devil or there's a tempter or there's a Lucifer, that evil being, that entity is a reflection of our own fear. It's a reflection of our own ignorance that exists inside of us. There's nothing to be afraid of. The only mission is to heal ourselves, to nurture our roots, to heal our relationships to our loved ones, to forgive those who have harmed us and recognize that by forgiving ourselves, we forgive them, and by forgiving them, we forgive ourselves. These are the teachings of Jesus, that we are all one being. The kingdom of heaven isn't outside of us, it exists inside of us. When we heal what's going on inside of us, we create that heaven for ourselves. I've been there, and this is bold to say, but I'm there right now. I live in that world. I live in that heaven, and I can see the world around me changing. I can see my family transforming. I can see my friends transforming. I can see life getting more playful, getting more fun. I work less hard than I ever have. I live in the flow in my life. Life is good. Life keeps getting better. My health is great. I'm so grateful for the amazing life that I have. I'm so grateful for the joy that I get to experience in my life, and it's all a result of accepting this truth. We don't need Christianity, we don't need Catholicism, we don't need Hinduism, we don't need Taoism, we don't need Judaism, we don't need any of it. We don't need it. Not to say there isn't value in it, not to say there isn't value in being connected to a community, that there isn't value in learning from other teachers, but I'm saying that there's more value in researching and testing those theories on our own. It's more important to listen to our hearts. Christ didn't create Christianity. That was created hundreds of years after his supposed death in Egypt by Egyptians. Look it up. These books were written 100 to 150 years after the time that this so-called teacher named Jesus lived on this earth. And then they were continually translated over and over and over again by a group that may have been the ones responsible for this man's death. I don't know. It's something to look up. But regardless, there's nobody to blame. There's nobody to blame outside of our own ignorance and our own fear. Consciousness has gone to the lowest point in history, and it will now rise and continue to rise for the next 12,000 years. The signs are out there, the breadcrumbs are out there, the truth is out there to be discovered. It's time to wake up. It's time to have faith. It's time to rejoice in the fact that we are allowed to play. We are allowed to follow our inspiration and our passion. We are allowed to do what brings us the most amount of joy. There's no expectations to be more. There's no expectations to achieve more so we can be enough. We are enough right now in this moment. It couldn't happen any quicker than it has. It couldn't happen any sooner than it's already happened. Now is the time to wake up. Now is the time to recognize how powerful you are. This message is for you, the listener. Do you think that anything exists outside of you right now? You're all there is. This message is for you to wake up. This message is for you to find the truth. Follow the breadcrumbs. Follow the signs. Dig down the rabbit hole if you must. This is your opportunity to get unplugged, to wake up to the beauty that exists all around you. I'm going to perform a couple of rituals here. I'm going to perform the teaching called the 7 directions that was handed to me directly from Jesus Christ, from higher self, from Yeshua. This is based on the 7 directions in the shamanic medicine circle, the medicine sphere. These 7 directions are our consciousness. They're the 7 aspects of what we are. The 7 spatial directions, north, east, south, west, up, down, and the center direction. Based on the 7 hermetic principles, the 7 colors of the rainbow, the 7 notes of a music scale, the 7 days of the week, the 7 planets in astrology, and the list just keeps going on. Everything is math. Everything is full of archetypes, full of ideas and concepts, full of information. And the greatest truth there is that you are all there is. I'm going to release the Path of the Pentagram on May 7th. If you check out the link below, rickygoodall.com/the path, you can sign up to receive this teaching absolutely free. It'll be about 7 hours of lectures, sort of like what I'm doing here now, in a private system that I'll share with you. Now, there are 2 levels to this system. There's the exoteric, which I'll share in this series, and there's the esoteric, which is only available if you've been initiated. initiated by me. And so there are initiates out there. There are ways to be initiated online, in person, by MP3 and a lot more. I'll be releasing that with the system as well. It's time for us to wake up. It's time for us to come together as one big family, one big community, and recognize just how powerful we are. If you'd like to receive that teaching, The Path of the Pentagram, again, it's 100% free. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. This is what I've been given by higher self, by Christ, by Yeshua, by Krishna, whatever you want to call him, it, her, to share with the world. And so if you'd like to sign up for it, sign up in the link below. I'm going to finish this episode with a couple of rituals. I invite you to close your eyes, connect to your breath, connect to your body, and feel the energy that comes from this. I will now perform the 7 directions. To the wisdom keeper in the east, the element of air, I will find the truth in the silence of my mind. To the warrior knight in the south, element of fire, I will create with my thoughts, words, and deeds. To the medicine healer in the west, element of water, I will express myself honestly, authentically, and transparently. To the temple priestess in the north, element of earth, I will give more than I receive and ask for what I want. To the mother below, queen of the moon and earth, I will forgive myself as I forgive others and forgive others as I forgive myself. To the Father above, king of the sun and creator of the universe, I will trust in the unknown and have faith in the impossible. To the all, the here and now, the centered direction, I will love all as I love myself and love myself as I love all. As above, so below, as within, so without, so be it, so it is. Amen. If you are a well-studied esoteric practitioner, if you're a priest, if you're a minister, then you know that what I just shared is deep, fundamental, esoteric wisdom. It's time to wake up. It's time to come together. It's time to bring light to this world. I will now perform the call of the shamanic warrior. Hey, hey, hey. Yod, hey, vav, hey. Yaheshua Elohim Shaddai Elkai Adonai Haren. Ate Yod Hey Vav Hey Yaheshua Elohim Shaddai Elkai Adonai Haren. Open your heart, the truth is here. It's time to wake up. We are home.